What's going on, everybody? He is I'm him, Shemaine Manchi. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've been on this channel, been on this page. January 20th was indeed the last upload of content podcast that I did. Russell Talk, Saturday night's main event, preview, and more. That was the last content that I came out with. January 29th, I made my video stating that I was going to be stepping away because I had some stuff I had to take care of. It's been a lot these past 9 months. I'm recording this October 6th. So it's been it's been a time. I'm going to dive into exactly where have I been, what has been going on within these 9 months. But before I dive into that, let's do a check-in. So for those that are familiar with the check-in, I apologize that I have to explain what the check-in is for everyone who is probably new to this channel. I adopted this from Brandon Marshall, former NFL star wide receiver. And I want to just say right now, if you hear anything traffic-wise, I am recording this in my room, and I'll get into all those things later on. But if you hear anything, don't be alarmed. I also have my mic that I have attached to me, so hopefully it doesn't pick up what I hear as traffic is going by. But anyway, I adopted the check-in from Brandon Marshall when he was doing the I Am Athlete podcast. And he did a check-in, and basically what it is it's a scale 1 through 10 in 3 categories. How are you on a scale 1 through 10? These 3 categories: your business, your personal, your mental fitness, your mental health. And when I was doing so in the meantime, if I had people on, I would ask them kind of where they were with their 3 categories. My day-to-day job, if I was doing an interview, I may ask them those same things. But it's just something I always want to keep in the loop. I always want to keep that consistency going with that check-in. It may not be every episode, but this is worth it because I've been gone for 9 months. So where am I at on the business side of things? Well, my day-to-day job is kind of, I would say I'm out of 5 in the business side of things. Day-to-day job, it's a little hectic right now. We are in the process of change. Sometimes change can be good. Sometimes change can be, troubling. But we are in this stage of new people coming in. We were impacted by a lot of the stuff that's going on in the country, on the federal level. So I'm not going to dive that much into it because that's not what this is for. But that business side of things is that. The podcast, my personal podcast, it's I'm trying to bring it back. Well, I'm not trying. I'm bringing it back. But I am experiencing some trial right now, with certain things that I'm looking to do, as far as I want to get things in order before I launch it. Like I want to get the graphic, I want to get music, I want to get intro, I want to get all these things kind of put together before I full blown drop it, because, working in a media space, I've adopted that mentality of having the intro and having all this stuff ready before the show is released, because you want to make sure that you have these things in order, So I'm been dealing with that, trying to get things in order. So it's a little difficult right now. I'm also dealing with, my consistency. When I did Royal Club, when I did Wrestle Talk Royal Club, I was consistent. Every Sunday I recorded. Every Monday it was released. I need to continue that and keep that consistency going. I need to. And the only way I can do that is, I have to dive into certain conversations with, people to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we're all on the same accord, that, there's a standard that I have set for myself. And I want to keep that momentum going. I don't want to, the momentum that I had when I was doing Wrestle Talk, I want to keep that going with Royal Club Wrestle Talk, but also with Conversations with Chi. I want them both to kind of be an even balance of content that I put out. I may put out a little more because of what may happen. I may do stuff where it is, I'm in my car and let's say some news broke, like today there's, LeBron drops this video of the second decision and everybody's freaking out about what that's going to be. Well, if Conversations with Chi was going and that announcement breaks and I watch the video and the video is him announcing, what I think is possibly his retirement, I can instantly grab my phone. I have wireless mics with me, not just this one, but I have the Rode wireless micro. Boom, pop them joints on. I got the Blackmagic app on my phone, and go from there. Go from there with it. Wrestling is the same way. Something breaks in wrestling, I want to be able to grab my phone, grab my stuff, get going, let's go. I want to be consistent with putting out this stuff, even if it's a short, maybe 5-10 minute thing, and then I tell y'all guys that I'm going to do a full blown later in the week once I get more information or whatever the case may be. That's kind of how I want to do this content moving forward. But I want it to be consistent. That's the biggest thing, is the consistency. Because one of the things that I know that I realize in dealing with, this space and people is they have the idea, they want to do it, and then when they want to execute it, my thing is just seeing how consistent they want. Are they, as I always tell people, is it a passion or is it a hobby? Are you doing this for the love of it? Or are you just doing it because everybody's got a podcast? Which makes my skin crawl every time I hear somebody say anyone can do a podcast. Because it takes a lot of work. And a lot of people don't understand that until they're actually doing it. And then when they realize the amount of work that has to get put into doing a podcast, most of them check out because they can't put in that work. They can't do the consistency of it, I was consistently with the Royal Club. Consistent, and that's not a dig. Some people might think that it's a dig at my co-host, the other half of Royal Club, which is Saad. that's not a dig on him. I even think me and Side have had the conversation, and Side had said that, yo, this is a lot of work, doing this, and it does take a lot of work, especially when you are kind of like doing it ideally by yourself, you know, when you are setting up stuff. My videographer is around. During the times of Royal Club, there was, and you can tell, most people could see what happened when I was doing it, when it's just me, or when it's me and my videographer, because the color looks a little different. The presentation is a little different. It's not just your plain, like you might see the little lights coming from the side, but it doesn't really pop like when he does it. And I appreciate him for that. I do. And you gradually will tell the difference in, the quality is still going to be sharp 4K, state of the art. The lighting is going to be a little different. I am getting into it though. Don't worry. Like, this is just, if I tell you like what this is being held up by, because I'm in the process of just getting all this stuff for me. I'm also looking at other places as well, but I'm going on a tangent right now because I not even get to the, personal and the mental fitness. But I'm just in this process of rebuilding the shows, my channel. I'm in that stage. So I'm gonna dive into more about conversations with Chi in this, because this is the episode for this is the first episode for conversations with Chi. Personal, I would say I'm about a 7. There's days where I am not the best. I try to. I try, because of everything that has happened over the course of this calendar year, because October 9th would be a year. But I'm trying, ever since all this happened, I'm really trying to stay positive. Things could be worse. That's kind of how I look at things. But I mean, I'm only human, and you have your days. You have your days where you don't want to be bothered. There's days that I just want to lay in bed and just chill. There's days that I don't even want to be in here. I just want to like go out, go away. I've been consistently being told that I need a vacation, and I'm trying to work on that. But I just feel like it's weird, because I feel like if I am on vacation, I'm missing something here that I should be attending. And it's weird. It's the weirdest thing for me. Like, I know many people that have gone on numerous vacations, more than I can count, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really doing a vacation. I did see a stat that came up that said that most people now are taking vacation just so they can sleep. And that's weird that I would do. Like, I would think that would be me. Like, I would take a vacation and literally just sleep the whole time. Like, if I did, I would go on vacation, go like leave the city if I wanted to. Take a vacation, leave the city, get a hotel, and literally just sleep for most of the time. I may go sightseeing depending on where I go. But yeah, most of the time I think I'll just be asleep. Because quietness is what I would probably need at this moment. Because as I said in my video, the noise got too loud. My world became loud. And sometimes it still does. I've learned how to put blinders on and kind of just focus on what I need to focus on. But sometimes it does get extremely loud. So when it does get that way, I kind of want to step back, take a breath. But yeah, that's where I'm at, on the personal side. So with the personal side, the I apologize, y'all. Uh, the mental side of things is also at a 7. So that's where I'm at. 5, 7.5, 7.5. They're kind of all. They obviously could be better, but I'm just going with the flow of things. So that being said, where have I been? Like I said earlier, October 9th would be a year that everything changed. My life, my family's life, it shifted. The root of my family, or not my family tree, or she is the root of my family tree, but the root of my life tree, my tree of life, my foundation. I am not who I am if it's not for her. My mother. October 9th, we received word that they discovered a mass on her lung. And it was a good chance, 69% chance, that it was going to be cancerous. So we had to figure out what the steps were to check and see what this exactly was. And I remember that day, and she told me about it. And I remember when she called, and I remember looking out my window at my job, and it was a sunny day. And when she told me that, everything went dark. It's like a cloud just came around and just got really dark. And I remember sitting there, and she was like, "I'm sorry I had to tell you this. I know that you're at work." But she couldn't hold it and not tell me. She couldn't wait till I got home. And all I thought when I was at work was, I need to find my boss, who has become like a second mother to me, because her and my mother are very similar. They have very similar characteristics, very much. And I was like, I need to talk to her. She was in a meeting, and then I had texted her and told her. And then I needed to go somewhere, because her office was like my sanctuary. It's like my peace. It was my safe haven. And she wasn't in her office, so I couldn't go there and just decompress and figure out what is going on. So I went to, another co-worker of mine's, my friend Jerry, and I told him what happened, and he was like, "Dude, just what are you doing? Like, go home." But I said I needed to talk to Bridget. So I remember sitting at the desk and then looking out the window, and I hear Bridget. And I hear her say, "Where's he at?" And then like she's running, and anybody that knows Bridget, it's very rare that you ever see her move fast. Like she's, she came over to me, and it was as if I was talking to my mom. It was as if when she hugged me, it was as if my mom hugged me, because all I did was I just bawled in her arms, just cried. And then I remember when I got home and my mom was here, and I cried again, because I wasn't sure what to do, So then November came, and she had to have a biopsy. So she had her biopsy, and she had her biopsy. November is when we found out that it was cancerous. But the biopsy happened in October. End of October. I remember that because Halloween, we went to my brother's house to go trick-or-treating with my nieces and nephew. And it was that day that I told myself I needed to go back into therapy, because I stopped going to therapy for some time, for a couple months. Just because I felt like, okay, I'm good. I reached that peak. Me and my therapist have this good relationship where it's, if you need, you don't need, we don't need to do appointments every month. If you want, whenever you need it, just send me an email. We'll set something up. So I remember they ordered pizza and wings, and my mom was eating. And she had just, like I said, she just had her biopsy. So they had to scrape like her throat. And she got food stuck in her throat, and she was like kind of having a hard time breathing. And I froze. Like I froze in real time. And the kid in me, the inner child in me, appeared. And the adult me couldn't handle or couldn't try to comfort the inner child in me, because that's my mother. You know, I didn't know how to do that comfort, because I'm stuck, because I'm seeing my mother in this pain and she's hurt and I'm just frozen. Luckily, people were there to, you know, take care of it. And at that moment, I knew that I needed therapy, because I knew that what was about to happen, I needed guidance on how to handle this, because I never dealt with this before. So November comes, and we find out indeed that she has lung cancer. So now our next step is, what do we do? And I say we because we are doing this as a family. And I advise anybody that is going through this, go through it as a family. Don't let that person feel like they're in it alone. There's a reason why I'm saying that, because I know from talking to my cousins and people in the field, that matters. Being present at these doctor's appointments, at these sessions, at all this stuff, it matters, because it shows them, one, that they have to be held accountable, and two, y'all are taking no, like y'all are not playing. I'm not like my uncle and my aunt, his wife, my aunt, my mother's sister, me, my brother, we all at some point were having conversations with these doctors, you know, and we tried to figure out what the next step was, because we all know it's surgery, radiation, or chemo. And my mom didn't want to do the chemo. We thought radiation may be okay, but not really. So then the next idea was surgery. So the surgery took place. It was January 2nd, ironically enough, my brother's birthday. And I remember being in the surgery, at the surgery. And I remember sitting there, and I remember me, my uncle, my aunt, my two uncles, my aunt, my uncle's wife. We were all there and just waiting and waiting and waiting. And when she got out of surgery, and she was in her room, and when I walked up there and I seen her in the bed, and she was just in so much pain, that really messed with me. Because wrongest woman that I know is hurting and there's nothing I can do about it. You know me, I'm always looking to help and save people. And I couldn't do none of that at that moment. And I felt helpless. So for 6 days, every day, was in that hospital with her. And, my brother and everyone that was with me all said that, they commend me because I never left her side. And then she was released on 6 days after the surgery. And we went to my aunt's house because she had to stay with my aunt because I had a work schedule, and majority of the time I had to be in office. I could work from home a few times, but I needed to be in office. And they needed someone that can have eyes on her. And so my aunt said that she would do it. So going to my aunt's house, her doctor called her and told her that, gave us exciting news, which was the mass. They detected they detected like they removed the cancer from there, so she's cancer free. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm crying because I'm happy that this storm is over and we are moving forward, and I'm just so thrilled and excited and happy and everything. But then shortly after, we got news that from the day she was diagnosed to the day of the surgery, the cancer grew. It spread. And that would result in her having to go for chemo as a safety precaution. But it was like, we were like, I thought that this was done. Like, what are we talking about? And so she had to go for chemo. So on January 29th, I released that video basically saying that I was stepping away. But the reason I was stepping away was because of this. I had to focus on this because I knew that anything else would be, I wouldn't have been able to give my all. I wouldn't have been able to really have these conversations and do my wrestle talk and do all this stuff because my mind would have been so focused on my mother. So I had to take a step back because I had to deal with this. So during this time, these 9 months, I did learn a lot. They say that you learn a lot during the storm. And I did. I learned who is there for me. I learned that a lot of situations that I thought was friendships were not. It was more of a transactional relationship. It was more of a, what can you do for me? And I appreciate the fact that I had to go through this to see that. For those that have and continue to reach out to see how my mom's doing, we're both very grateful and appreciated to you guys. For those that reach out, and when I'm talking to them, before they even ask how I'm doing, they ask how she's doing. I appreciate that. You know, I'm not going to dive into the negative as far as the people that did not, or the people that I learned where they really stood. I'm not going to address that at this moment because that's not what this is for. I don't even know if I am going to address those particular people because I don't know if I want to give that any time nor energy. One of the mottos I live by is by what Maul always states, which is my karma's beautiful. And I believe that. So, circling back, because for those that, like I've always said, you know how much this woman means to me, so I appreciate y'all for reaching out. April 17th, she finished her treatment. I stood by her side every treatment. There wasn't one treatment that I missed. And we got word that, she's cancer free. But she has to go through a treatment where she has to restore her T cells. And from what I've learned, this is a very positive and uplifting treatment. She texted me last week because she had treatment, and she said that she's almost close to her original weight. So that's a good thing because, seeing her go through what she went through and seeing her lose the weight and hair thinned out and tired and just always sleeping and things like that really took a toll on me. But to see that she's kind of getting back into the groove of things, she's getting back to her, herself, I'm beyond blessed, and I thank God every day that I have another day with her because, it wasn't her time. So then we're back. We're here now. And my cousin, Adrian, who I love dearly, reached out to me and my other cousin, Russ, and said she wanted us on her podcast. I've been on her podcast a few times. She's been on, she's been on my podcast. Was it Views from the Two? I think it was, no, it wasn't. It was So in the Meantime. It was So in the Meantime. I was going to say she was on Views from the Two, but Views from the Two was never audio. I mean, it's never video. She was on a video podcast of mine. We shot it in my living room. And I remember she reached out and said she wanted me on her podcast. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I remember grabbing my stuff, setting it up, and I told her, once I had everything set up, because I haven't opened my mixer for me personally in a very long time because I was always going to the studio. So I never really used my mixer anymore, never used my mics for myself. So when I finally did, I looked at her and I was like, because we were on StreamYard, and I looked at her and I was like, this is my first time that I've opened my mic, and I've been and it's just like riding a bike. I compared it to when Jordan unretired the first time. It was one of those moments where it was like, yeah, I got the itch. And then I started to go over I have storage of footage, some unseen, others it's just behind the scenes stuff, but it's footage that I'm seeing and I'm getting that itch. And I started to say, okay, how would this look? So I started to formulate, and the teaser started to come, you know. And I had one more one more coming, but I said, I'm not going to do that. Because I'm not going to do it because I know people have told me that if you do another teaser and we don't get no content, what the hell? So I didn't. I may still do one though. But that will be that, and then you would get new stuff. That will be the teaser to tell you guys it's fully happening. It's here. It's happening. So we're here. It's Conversations with Chi. If you've been following me since Everyday Brothers, Views from the Two, so in the meantime, it's those same conversations. It's that same energy that you get. It's gonna be a little different though. I'm looking forward to this. I do have my first interview that I did. I'm excited for you guys to see that. I'm just looking forward to this. It's gonna be a little different. I'm not in the studio that I was at before. I'm looking at other I'm looking at other places. I may just stick to, if I'm doing solo ones, just sticking to being here. As you see, I'm going to update this background. I plan on getting some stuff and kind of putting some flair to this. But then if I'm talking to people, it's obviously going to be not in here. I did have 2 other videos for this. 2 other Where Have I Been videos. One was shot at the Japanese garden. That was the first video I did since January 20th. I didn't really I loved how it looked. I loved the aesthetics. You see it right here. I loved how it presented itself. But I didn't like how I delivered the message. I did another one in studio. That one was rushed because, I was booked. I had an hour. All this other stuff was going on. Left me, after setting things up, left me with 30 minutes. And yeah, I was like, whew, I'm gonna have to rush this, and I didn't have the way I wanted it set up. So I kind of just said okay, and I wanted to just do this more intimately. So I decided, I purchased these Rode Wireless Pros. I purchased these, and I said, well, if I'm purchasing those, I might as well put use to them. So I did this, and I said, let me do this and let me see how this sounds and let me see how this goes. And this is what I'm doing. So for everybody that stuck around, I appreciate y'all, because I know that consistency is key, and people will forget about you. And I know a lot of people did not forget about me. People were looking for me because they wanted to know my thoughts, my opinions, my views on a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. And I promise you guys I will address them. Only thing I will not do, and I've always said this, is I will not dive into politics. That's just a space that I will never do. Unless it's warrant, unless it's a situation like a George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or, those, which we haven't, or the tops, 514. But other than that, I'm not really going to touch on that stuff. Political stuff. But everything else is I'm going to touch, If you followed me on Instagram, I just talked about it today where I said it pains that I have to, address this or talk about this, but I'm going to talk about the Aisha Curry situation with Steph and what she's been doing for the past few years. It's not just what she's done lately, it's what she's been doing for the past few years. So it's conversations like that you're going to get. Obviously, like I said earlier, you're going to get, if LeBron announces his retirement, my thoughts on that. Obviously, Drake, Kendrick, hip hop, things that are trending, things that are probably not trending. I have read books and read on some things that I'm kind of interested in on touching. And yeah, so sit back and enjoy the ride. Enjoy this journey that I'm about to take you on, because it's going to be something that I'm really looking forward to, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it. So anybody that is new, welcome. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. For those that have been here, you can do the same. Just comment and like, share if you want to too, because you're already subscribed to the channel. But for everyone else, man, greatly appreciate it. I am in debt to y'all. I appreciate every last one of y'all, because y'all have been looking for me, and I appreciate that. So from my fellow Taurus twin, Mr. Cam Newton, one finger, one pinky, one thumb, one love. I'm out. Later.